Ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome once again to the 16th edition of Renewable Energy India Expo. I'm your host, Manu Mirdha, and this session is powered by Council on Energy, Environment and Water. The topic of discussion is challenges and opportunities in the renewable energy bill of material manufacturing in India. To scale up renewable energy product manufacturing, many key components are currently imported. To truly indigenize, many components would need to be manufactured in India, which would require research and development, upscaling, and regular flow of finance. Additionally, quality and standards of such products will also need to be tested based on Indian conditions. This panel will discuss the opportunities and challenges that exist in the bill of material component manufacturing for solar, wind, electronic vehicles, and batteries. To take the session forward and to begin the panel discussion, I would like to call upon stage our moderator, Mr. Dhruv Warrior, Program Associate, Council on Energy, Environment, and Water. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. To join him, I would like to call our first panelist, Mr. Rajeev Kashyap, VP and MD, Nextracker, India. Again, a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Ranjith Nambiar, Head Marketing Coated Products, AMNS. Please be generous with your round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for being a lovely audience. And last but not the least, I would like to invite on stage Mr. Manjunath Reddy, MD and founder, DhaSh PV Technologies Private Limited. Another round of huge applause. And now I would request our moderator, Mr. Dhruv Warrior, to take this session forward. The stage is all yours, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. So I think this is a really important session if perhaps the topic is quite underappreciated so far. Because very often when we talk about manufacturing, we're talking about manufacturing of maybe when we talk about solar, we're talking about cell, or when we talk about batteries, we talk about, again, the cell or cathode. But what we would like to discuss here today and maybe find some nuances that perhaps haven't been discussed so far is what is it about other bill of material components which make them perhaps hard to manufacture? Or is there an opportunity for India to manufacture these components and compete in the global ecosystem? We would also like to perhaps look into if there's some kind of strategic need for these components. Are there risks involved in their supply chains? And then finally, what about these components could perhaps make India cost competitive? So yes, we have a great panel lined up here today. Some of the industry's leading experts and either representing companies which are world leaders or representing companies which are, India's first, let's say they're the ones that are going into this industry for the first time. So what I'd like to do quickly is introduce CEEW and myself. So I'm Dhruv. What we do is we look at policy research for supporting India in developing the clean energy ecosystem. My particular team and I particularly work on technology policy and supporting RE supply chains and battery supply chains in India, as well as critical minerals for these supply chains. So we'd also like to, as this conversation goes along, try and find out, is there something in the policy domain that is missing? Or are the policies adequate, and is it only really a question about industry having the ambition to get into this space? So yeah, I've introduced myself. What I'd like to do now is to go to each of the speakers, Could the speakers please talk to, first of all, what their product is, what is their involvement in the sector, and secondly, as it is today, is India a place which is attractive to manufacture your product, and why or why not? And I'd love to get your opinion either from a policy lens or just from a market kind of ecosystem lens. So perhaps we can go to Manjunath first, given your active involvement in the sector.
Good evening. Myself, I'm Manjunath Reddy. I'm a founder and managing director of DhaSh group of companies. Uh, in RE sector that, we are into manufacturing of PV junction boxes connector in India, and we have started since 2017. And we are the pioneer in the junction box design and the development of the product according to IEC and the UL standard, which is required for the global. And currently we have 15 gigawatt of manufacturing capacity, and we are aiming to scale up to 50 gigawatt of manufacturing capacity by 2025. Yeah.
Great. I'd love to get your view. What about, given that you are manufacturing in India, what made it so attractive to start manufacturing these products?
Yeah. So, when I started my career, is one of the European company. I've worked almost 14 years for the European companies as as a leading, manager positions. Then in 2016, so I realized that I'm done working for the European companies, and then I have to start our own entrepreneur. So create more employment rather than seeking an employee. So there's a one thought process that started to coming as an entrepreneur. And today we, as a group company, we have around 450 employees, and our vision to increase 3,000 employment by 2028. And of course, in coming to the renewable energy is most potential demand for the global market, not only for the domestic and also for the global. With respect to renewable energy, that the a very early stage, 2010 or 2006 later, that the model manufacturing capacity, slowly is increased. People are talking about only the model manufacturing, but not the ancillary manufacturing. That's the most important. And we focused the ancillary manufacturing since the inception of our incorporation of our company. And today we are the global known company, not only for in India.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rajeev, now I'd love to turn to you, given that you represent a global leader. What would it take? First of all, is there manufacturing in India, and what would it take to set up manufacturing, or what would it take to attract that kind of investment? And also maybe a quick overview of what you do.
Yeah, thanks, Dhruv. So let me introduce first Nextracker here. So Nextracker, we are the leading tracker manufacturers, and this product is an intelligent, integrated solar tracker system, which helps in optimizing, I'll say, not just optimizing, maximizing output of PV panels. And how does it do it? As a layman, it makes tracker aligns the PV modules perpendicular to the sun's location, so that you can get the maximum. But why I said the intelligent is, many a times, especially if you see in country like us, where you do not have very clear sun, there's a lot of diffuse light. So we have a solutions of softwares built into our product, by which you can change the angles. It's many a times, if it is a diffuse light, making trackers or the PV modules perpendicular to the sun, it will not give you the maximum output. So that is where our intelligent system senses those and changes the angle to the optimize the output. So that's the product which we have. And as of today, as Nextracker, we have already installed, supplied 75 gigawatts worth of trackers across the globe. So that's the kind of a rich experience we are bringing into the country. And at the same time, we started our operations in India around 2016 as Nextracker. And we started with 10 employees at that time, and now today we are more than 230 employees here. And the kind of skill sets which we have developed here is all Indian skill sets coming from the premium institutes, like structural, geotech, all kind of technologies which are required for a successful building utility-based or distributed generated power plants. So that's the strength we are bringing into India, and seeing like India's ambitious targets. What we have, the government has announced 500 gigawatts of renewables by 2030, and out of which majority is going to be solar. So that's where we are working on, and making sure that we are having localized manufacturing here. Now, why we need localized manufacturing, as what we were talking about, is one is like we have seen in pandemic there had been a big fluctuations in logistics and steel cost, all those things put together. That's one area which should be controlled, and India to be a resilient in energy, self-dependent, we need to have all local manufacturing here. So from steel point of view, which my friend Ranjith will also be talking about, which is one of the major parts of raw material for any power plant, and very critical. So that's where we are working on, and we have almost like localized all the steel components in India. Then other components, tracker is a combination of many technologies. It's like, if you talk about its the channels, the steel channels, you have tube manufacturing, you have electronics manufacturing, you have softwares into it, you have stamp parts into it. So a lot of different kind of technologies put together will creates a tracker. So and and these are like, if I talk about, it's a huge steel tonnage wise, per megawatt is a huge quantity, and importing all the product into India, logistics costs go up, and that also results into which is my personal side of it, the carbon emissions. Higher the logistics, higher is the carbon emission. Logistics is one of the biggest industries in carbon emission. So we are working on it. Maybe once we get into that topic, I'll surely like to talk about how Nextracker is working on to make carbon neutral, or supporting into the carbon neutral side of it through a supply chain, through a manufacturing processes, and localizing the raw materials to be produced in the country.
Sure, yeah. I think that's something we should definitely dive into. Thank you, Rajeev. Ranjit, I think this organically then goes to you, given that you would perhaps supply some of this indigenization ambition. So I'd love to understand where exactly does steel go into the green, let's say the green revolution, not that green revolution, but the clean energy revolution. Of course, steel is used across multiple technologies, but where exactly is the steel that you produce? Where would it go? And what is it about that steel which perhaps gives you an edge? Because of course, not all steel is made equal. So what is it? What type of steel and what specifications of steel are really needed for the clean energy transition?
Thank you, Dhruv. Good evening to all. I'm coming from ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel India, which is a joint venture between world's two largest steel producers, that is ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel. And as Rajeev ji rightly said, and the rightly asked by Dhruv, steel is a very important component of your RE segment, whether it is windmill or it is solar projects. Solar projects, you need the solar structure, the mounting structures, windmill, the wind towers. With the technological collaboration from our parent companies, we have been developing, and we have developed and continuously developing new steel grades and the coating systems which can adapt into various Indian conditions, where it can give you a better corrosion protection, and you can have a import substitution, wherein probably what Rajiv ji said, there is an uncertainty with imports on the lead times and the pricing fluctuations. With producing in India, we can avoid that. And since the government of India is committed to build an infrastructure to produce about 500 gigawatt of clean energy by 2030, you'll be needing lot and lot of steel. And by getting those steel produced in India, this can boost our economy. This will always give us a good opportunity to improving the job opportunity to the people, saving the foreign exchange. So AMNS India is committed to get the new and newer technologies, and we are continuously developing new technologies. We are coming up with new lines in our various locations in India. In fact, we are in process of doubling our steel making capacity in Azira, which will be doubled to 15 million tons by 2026. And we are installing new coating lines at Azira, and furthermore is coming up at other locations. So we are committed to provide the best steel that is required for the renewable energy segment.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Ranjith. So I'd actually like to dive into some of these questions with Rajeev, you first. So you were talking about reducing emissions when it comes to steel and also about indigenizing the value chain. So I'd like to know first of all, what exactly, to what extent are we able to indigenize? Is it just about getting access to steel from India, or is there something more to it? I'm sure there's electronic components, various other components too. So to what extent are we indigenizing? And then secondly, I know you were talking about reducing emissions. So is that a priority with your suppliers? And then are Indian suppliers able to compete compared to global suppliers when it comes to these kind of emission standards? And maybe I'll come to Ranjit also about this next.
Yeah, thanks. So answering your first question, like how much we have localized here. So as of today, we are already almost like 75 to 80% of our components localized, and we had been aggressively working on it. And the good thing is, the previous long back, the impression used to be on the quality of the product. So just to let you know that the production which we are doing here, manufacturing we are doing in India, is being used for serving the projects almost in from India itself. We are exporting to 4 continents as of now. Majority of US projects are being served from here, all the steel parts. So that's the quality of standards have been already established in the country. That's one. Then coming to other parts, we are aggressively working on localizing other components also, especially like now electronics, and government of India is giving a lot of good policy incentives into it. So you have seen a lot of electronics manufacturing is coming to India now. So taking that advantage out of that, so we are also bringing in our electronics components, and our parent company Flex, having a major shareholder in the company, they are an electronics manufacturer. So we are setting up those components also in India. Though yes, most of the components required for electronics have to be imported as of now. The supply chain is not locally available for those components. But the way the things are moving on, the incentives government is giving to make in India with those PLI schemes, things are moving now. So I hope very soon those things will be resolved and we will have a good electronics manufacturing capabilities within the country. Then we have other components regarding the steel, especially if you talk about, as Mr. Ranjith also was saying, they are working on developing different type of coatings. And that's what the challenge as of today I see as a country. We do not have local capabilities with our steel mills, which now every steel mill is now working towards. If specifically if we talk about project sites, solar farms which have been identified by the government, like Gujarat, coastal areas. If we go there, you need high corrosion steels which can withstand high level of corrosion categories. So that's one which is right now getting imported, and I know ArcelorMittal is working aggressively on it. So as soon as that product is available, that will be really good advantage for all tracker manufacturers in India, all solar power projects which are being installed and with an aggressive target of 300 gigawatts by 2030. So that's where I see, like, yes, we are moving towards what is needed, adoption of technology in the country. But yes, we need to be aggressive. That's what I'll.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting about corrosion, and especially given that climate change is also going to be a big factor going forward. So not only is this a question about India's current climate, but also how things will change, and corrosion resistance is obviously going to be a major aspect. So Ranjith, I think would love to turn to you. What then? First of all, of course, what is AMNS doing? But what is it going to take for our country's steel industry to be able to upgrade, to be able to do that? I mean, that's Rajeev has basically said that maybe we don't have the capacity yet, but that's what we are looking to. But would love to hear your thoughts on it. What is ArcelorMittal doing, and what is the, and also, is there some support that the government should be providing to be able to upgrade these kind of capabilities in India?
Dhruv, basically, as Rajiv ji has rightly said, most of the new capacities in solar segment is coming up in areas in Gujarat and all, which is in a very high corrosivity environment. Where you need a steel to manufacture solar mounting, module mounting structures which will withstand those corrosive atmospheres. Today, the product is used in conventional method, which is consuming a lot of zinc, which has to given a very high coatings. And yes, AMNS, we are coming up with a product which is in fact being produced by my parents for the last 12 years in overseas. And we are doing it a lot, and we have done a lot many projects in Europe and all. So we are bringing in that project in, the product into India, which will give you the best of the corrosion protection with a lower zinc coating, which will help in conserve your zinc reserves in the country. And number two, those lines which is coming up there, it is coming up with a very clean steel production technology also. In fact, AMNS is having one of the best clean steel production technology in the steel making. So I believe the product what we are going to offer specifically in solar segment will be the answer to the question what Rajiv ji is looking for or you are looking for. And to just to add on with that, we should not forget about the wind power. AMNS has developed lot many grades which has been used in wind power towers. So we are very much focused on those two areas. And yes, for the solar segment, the answer will be the product which we are going to come up.
Okay, thank you. Rajiv, did you have something you wanted to say? You seem like...
What Ranjith is saying is, like, I'm very much aligned, and I know their plans too. So we are working very closely with them. So yeah, we need that capacity. At the same time, I missed one of your questions regarding the climate change. So as Nextracker, we are working very aggressively right now, like reducing the carbon emissions from logistics. So we are choosing, we are aligning with shipping lines who are using biofuels so as to reduce, that is one. Secondly, we are aggressively working on localizing so as to reduce even that part of it. Then steel, like we are aligning with many of the steel mills. We are who are going for a green concept, basically changing their furnaces to the new technologies, which in India we need to implement on. So those are few of the many initiatives which we are taking to reduce work towards the carbon neutral economy. So that's where we are, and we are driving this carbon emissions down through our tracker. And very soon you will see that maybe there will be a green tech tracker also in the market.
Thank you, thank you. So yeah, Manjunath, I wanted to turn to you now. Of course, perhaps a little different field, but I know that when we talk about junction boxes, there's a lot of use of electronics, and that's really a key component. So I'd love to know, to what extent have you been able to indigenize? Have you faced challenges going upstream in terms of the supply of some of these electronics? And are there strategic issues in getting access to these electronics, and were you able to make some headway? So love to get your thoughts on basically supply chain indigenization for you.
Um, so coming to the ancillary model, I mean ancillary manufacturing of the solar module, the junction box is one of the key component. When the junction boxes talk about that, definitely the semiconductor is involved. So lack of technology and lack of manufacturing facility in India today, that we are depending on the overseas supplies. So definitely, we also importing the semiconductors from the overseas countries. And just in a few weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, we have signed MOU with one of the Taiwan company for bringing a technology of semiconductor manufacturing into India. So this is going to happen in with our new manufacturing facility. We are planning to have the SOP of manufacturing by April or May 2024. So with this, the dependency of importation of electronic components, especially into our product, it is, the dependency is eliminated. And also that, the coming into that, the government policies that in a way that, Indian government is supporting for the PLI scheme for manufacturing from cell to model. So definitely that, the auxiliary model, I mean, auxiliary components also is very important for the contribution of the PLI scheme. So with respect to that, also we also formed that, the solar model, ancillary manufacturing association, and we are representing to the government of India through MNRE and Niti Aayog, that, the what ancillary manufacturers are finding in the challenges and the opportunities, and that of course, what kind of the issues we are facing in the market as on today in terms of the pricing, in terms of the supply chain issues as well. So the government is also eagerly that expecting the solutions and the suggestions from the association, and we also focusing that how to mitigate and how to eliminate the challenges for the future. The big corporates are coming with a multi-gigawatt of manufacturing capacity, right? So that again that they are also depending on the importation of the ancillary components. So with that respect to that, we are working with the solution that where the India can work as a self-reliant for manufacturing all the ancillary manufacturing, including that the raw materials of semiconductors and XLPO and whatever the engineering plastic called. So everything it going to happen. So that's what actually as a company we are working with the large expansion with a 50 gigawatt with a complete backward integration. So which is estimated about 60 million US dollar with only the junction box cable connector and as well as that semiconductor. So this is the contribution, we are working on that. So as a DhaSh, we always focus on research and development of the new product and the innovative of the products. So that's what, the government of India is also recognized as a start of India for manufacturing of innovative product. And we already ready for that, the junction box for the HJT technology. The HJT, the TopCon and HJT is something new. So already we are ready for that, for the meeting the requirement of HJT solar cell technology. Yeah, of course, the coming to the Rajeev then is stating that, the climate change, of course, every component manufacturers have the solar components are contributing to the, elimination of the carbon dioxide. So definitely, in today's scenario, I read that recently that one of the article that 28% of the carbon dioxide is releasing from the transportation, the logistics we are talking today, and 24% from the industry. Definitely that over a period of time that we'll try to meet that the emission free, maybe the carbon footprint, the focusing that, and so that's what actually we have to give for the future generation. So for elimination of the carbon dioxide in the environment.
Thank you. I'd love to stay with you a little longer. So I think you raised some point about partnering with a Taiwanese company on
Yeah.
semiconductor manufacturing. So is this something that you are investing in directly, or is this something that they'll be investing in and you'll be partnering with them? And has it moved in any way? Like where in the process of setting up this factory is this currently? Because I think this is big news that we have
Yeah.
semiconductor manufacturing in India.
Actually, we are bringing only the technology. They are the technology partners, and the investors is by us as a group company. The new manufacturing plant is coming in Dharmapuri, so that we are working with the Tamil Nadu government about 40 acres of land, and we are working with incentive schemes, and also for the subsidy and the land procurement. Um, so this is it's about 100 kilometers from the Bangalore, is in the Dharmapuri. Uh, is it clear?
Yeah, I think that's quite clear.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I think in the next, set of questions, what I wanted to ask Rajeev is, of course, we're talking about the physical hardware, but part of a solar tracker is also the software. I think having innovative software and having cutting edge software is what makes the industry competitive. So where can India play a role, given that we have that strength in software? Is it something which would be, and what kind of business model would it be? Of course, Nextracker could develop this directly, but is it possible for Indian companies to provide services to other solar tracker companies or other companies in the space? And is there a chance for a larger industry to blossom in India in this kind of sector?
Yeah, that's true. So India's biggest strength is software, right? So, and we are utilizing it. Nextracker, we are having a very strong software team. So if you see in our tracker, the software is like the heart of the product, right? And we have a team, we have a big team and a very strong team stationed at Hyderabad only, which is continuously working on different softwares, whether it is product operations related, product performance related, or even the O&M services, right? So uh, our tracker is like it's a built-in predictive maintenance. So that's what the tracker is. You have very low maintenance, practically zero maintenance, and that's possible because of software. And especially like if we talk about AI and machine learning, right? That's where we take a lot of advantage in developing our software, increasing the yields, as I was talking about, changing the angles of PV panels so that in a diffuse light condition also you can maximize or optimize the output. So that's where the software is the part of our product, and which is very important. Coming to like overall industry, yes, software is. We are talking now about 5-6 years back. The project size used to be like 50 megawatts, 60 megawatts, maximum 100 megawatt project used to be a big one. Today we are talking about in gigawatts, right? So single project site, a gigawatt, 2 gigawatt, or even 3 gigawatts. In India, we are already working on a 1.5 gigawatt, a 2 gigawatt project. We had been doing projects like in Middle East, 3 gigawatt projects are there, one single site. And if I talk about like in Khavda, which is a very extreme conditions from corrosivity point of view or accessibility point of view, you cannot have this large scale projects managed by individuals on the site. You need to have intelligent systems linked to your SCADA, wherein you can see how each individual component of your power plant is performing. And that is where the software skills are required, the machine learning or AI, which needs to read what is happening. You need to take signatures out of your product, electronics being one of the very important components out of it. You take signals from your product, you take the parameters which are giving you different conditions by which you can predict that something is going wrong. You can direct your O&M teams how to correct that. Person goes right at that place, right? So it's many square kilometers. If you're talking about a gigawatt project, it's so many square kilometers of space. So you need to know where the person has to go and correct it. or many of the problems which can be corrected by just resetting your system out there, right? So which can be done remotely. So you need to have an access remotely. So all those things can be done by software. So software is going to play a big role in the operations, in the product performance, in increasing the energy yields out of these products. And you need to know, like, even if you talk about grid, you need to have uh, s- the biggest problem which India is facing, as per my knowledge, is the stability of grid because of the challenges in forecasting the output from the renewable energy products or renewable energy power plants. So that is where the softwares will help, this machine learning, AI will help us in predicting the right numbers so that grid can be stabilized. We can have a very good, efficient grids in the system and the country where we have the maximum losses because of the unpredictability of the energy getting fed into the grid, especially from the renewable energy sources. So that's where I see software, yes, going to be the main bone of the overall energy resilient of the country. So,
Yeah, I'd like to add a follow-up question to this. So I just wonder, is there a potential that the marginal returns on constant innovation, because at the end of the day, software is about the last step of optimizing. Of course, you have a product and then you're optimizing. So at what step would you feel like that marginal returns are not enough for further innovation? Or do you feel like the sector is just ripe for innovation for years to come? So is there that scale of opportunity for India to get into the space?
see, a business is successful if you are able to address the pain of your customers, right? And that is where this software, if I talk about, you're taking care of that pain, how to maintain your plants, how to increase the output of your power plant, how to maximize your revenues out of this investment you have done in that power plant, right? As a developer, if you are owning that power plant, you need to maximize your output so that you can have maximum revenues coming out of that energy production. So these are the things, if you are able to take care of, like soiling losses, right? So if your panel is not properly clean, your output, energy output goes down. You need good solutions for cleaning them, robotic solutions. How to control robots? You need software, right? So what I foresee is software is the solution. Software industry has to come up with. We have to adopt those technologies to make this, like, if you go to the western side of it, western world, these technologies are already in, they're working on it, developing it, and we are seeing the kind of market growing up. I think it is giving a lot of fruitful results to the business, as well as on other side of it, like if we even have to talk about climate change, all those things, we are reducing the cost, reducing a lot of other carbon emissions related to O&M industry or even the operations industry. So that's where we see.
Great. Ranjith, so I think we touched on some level about corrosion and climate, but I just wanted to understand, does AMNS and does the steel industry, is there a vision for the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, as essentially your climate is going to change as we go ahead? Climate resilience is a very important topic for a lot of spaces, of course, when it comes to people's residences, but I think it'll be very important in the RE space as well. So, is there that kind of vision? Is there a nudge that is needed, perhaps, from policymakers for industry to look at what is going to change over time? Or are customers really aware of the potential pitfalls as we go ahead, that maybe their engineering standards will have to change or their certifications will have to change? So, I'd love to get your view on this.
See, definitely AMN is having a vision to address this question. Presently, we are coming out with the first level of the product, which will be upgraded soon. As you rightly said, the climate situations and the conditions in our country is drastically changing. The conditions today, if you go after 4 or 5 years, 10 years, the situation will be much harsher. So AMNS is equipped with developing steel products to meet those requirements also. Our R&D teams, in collaboration with the R&D teams of my parents, that is ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel, we are continuously working on improvising the product, the coating systems, the coating methods, coating combinations. So we are working on it. And probably we may have to have a policy decision also, wherein we'll have to specify these kind of products in the project specifications also.
So I know you spoke about the R&D teams. Do we have R&D teams in India? Do we have that capacity, the metallurgical
Yes, we do have
technology?
a well-equipped metallurgical lab in our facility at Azira. In fact, we are producing these grades. We have developed almost more than 700 grades in India. Now we have an added support of my parent organizations. So we are one of the best equipped R&D facilities available as on date.
Okay, and are there any partnerships with Indian PSUs or any kind of labs? Because I know there's a lot of metallurgical labs in India as well. So are those partnerships occurring in the steel
See,
sector?
basically, we have a well-equipped labs, and we do have this counterparts in the overseas. That's the ArcelorMittal and Nippon Steel. So we are doing this work in a collaborative manner. And as you rightly said, when the customer is asked for a third-party testing and other things, we do collaborate with those testing agencies as and when it is required by the customer.
Okay, thank you. Right. Manjunath, I'd like to come back to you. So one of the bigger questions when it comes to, setting, I think what you had touched on, first of all, was that you have different connectors for different products and junction boxes as well. So what makes these junction boxes unique? Like you said, TopCon and HJT, these are different technologies that you have developed. So what about it makes it particular to a particular technology? And also what about a junction box makes it competitive? So what is really your competitive edge or anyone who's getting into this field?
Yeah, so entire solar model, the solar cell is heart of the product. The cell, earlier it was 2 bus bar, 3 bus bar, then 5 bus bar, then later we talk about M10, G12, and TopCon, and the latest technology which is going to come is HJT, right, in the TopCon as well. Here the changes is the current, right? So the generation of the current within the solar panel, starting from 8.5 amps to that now, for the bifacial, it's coming around 18, 19 ampere. And HJT, we're talking about 750 watt peak, right? When the wattage is also increasing and significant current rating is also increasing. In fact, the junction box, it's become more compact. When it is coming to, the reason is when it's glass to glass or glass to transparent backsheet. When it is a bifacial, the junction box area is also to be optimized to minimize that, shadow which is appearing from the backside. So with this, when the size is reducing, that when the current is increasing, that the innovation and the technology is how we going to mitigate and to meet the requirement of IEC or UL, and also to sustain for that, the longer durability. So that is most important in the design of the product. So keep in mind that when we are designing that, the product, which extending what is the maximum current rating, and when it's going for the certification of the IEC standard, it should be qualified the 1.25 times of the IEC requirement, right? So that generally that all the model manufacturers, it will be considered the minimum, the factor of 1.25 to 1.5 times of the factor. So that means that a 30 ampere or 35 ampere of the junction box is required for when it is going for the higher wattage of the model. So which is very important that what kind of engineering plastics is been selected in the design of the product, and what kind of semiconductor chip technology is used to increase that the localized area with the heat dissipation, the better heat dissipation and higher RTA of the engineering plastics. So eventually, in case of the surge is generated, or maybe in case of any wrong connections, or in case of any misuse of the electrical parameters in the installation or later, the first effect it will come to the only in the junction box, because where that it is the it is mediating that the between the solar cell and between the panel and to the inverter or the array junction box. So therefore that they, therefore that the localized the junction box area, how it's heat dissipating, and when it is in working on the forward bias, and how it is that is protecting the your solar cell is also is important when considering the design. So we usually I mean we use that our engineering plastics is above 125-degree RTI rating, and which is that as a our neighbor countries and they're following is about 105 degrees Celsius of the RTI. So that is which is superior, and it's coming into the flammability class. We follow that 5VA, and other benchmark is 5VB. Then that's so this is all the very uniqueness in the product design, and it is easy for us to convince customer that why the Indian product is superior than the other the competitor from outside India. So this is the strength the which we easy to establish our market in the global level, not only for the domestic. At the same time, of course, not but least that that the standards is also is very important, that how it's working for the thermal cycle, thermal runaway, or maybe that thermal cycling or damp heat for the the 1,000 hours as the requirement of the standards. But we always recommend to proceed for that 3,000 or 5,000 hours of the damp heat or thermal cycling, so which is a long durability test of for the junction box, which is giving that confidence to the customer that this product can sustain in case of any hot conditions. On this engineering plastics, what we are using, that it will sustain for the minus 40 degrees Celsius and plus 120 degrees Celsius of the ambient temperature, so that this product can be used anywhere across the globe. So that's what our design we consider in the concept. So when it comes to for the connector or the junction boxes, recently we did about 500 hours of immersion of the into the water. It is it is a we succeeded with above 500 hours of the IP68 rating. So I know generally the standard is asked for the about 1 hour. We did about 500 hours. So that is also very important when we consider for the design of the product.
And so you, of course, you're looking at a very high, very safe, very resilient product. Are investors really interested in that? Is that something that you're putting it as a selling point for them, that you know the market is ready for it and market really wants it? And is there that kind of excitement coming from investors to invest in a product like this coming out of India? I know that very often the conversation is about jugaad and like making a good enough product, but of course the way you're describing it is we are looking at really high quality products. So I'd love to get your view on what is the investor sentiment. Is there, is that basically something that really speaks to them when they're looking at a product?
Yeah, definitely. That any investors he look for, he looking forward that how we can create that the bigger market share. So when we want to create a bigger market share, then what is the USP in the product, right? What is the innovative? What is the uniqueness in the product? So that is most important, to convince the investors always. So definitely in our product, that we consider that we're the uniqueness. When we started in 2017, we are the first in Indian company we start with the manufacturing of PV junction box in India, and the whole industry is surprised that how we can make that the PV junction box in India, because 100% we're importing from China. So that so we have changed that the mindset of the customers and the investors, that yes, India also can make that innovative product, and we are capable enough to adopt that new technology which is coming for the future also at the same time. So definitely that investor or maybe the customer will be convinced that the technology oriented product or innovative product, uh, apart from that, as a sentiment of indigenous.
Okay, great. Rajiv, maybe I can ask you the same question. Is the customer more than perhaps the investor as well, but is the customer really looking for that innovative product? And of course, at the end of the day, it comes down to your returns on cost. But have you been able to really see that kind of interest in innovative products? And I'd like to just add a brief point. Um, in India, I would love to also get your thought on solar trackers are not, it's not universal. So there are certain people who put it and who don't. So is that kind of even making the argument for solar trackers, is that growing sentiment in Indian customers? Are they seeing the benefit of that kind of innovation? Would love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. So just to let you know, Nextracker is having like the market share point of view, the number one globally, right? We have almost like 30% of the market share globally, and the reason I am talking about this market share is customer is valuing this innovations, right? They need a product which is technologically innovative, and as I previously said, which can help addressing their pain areas through these innovations. So that's where we are, and for sure, innovation is the key. Like earlier, we used to say, like necessity is the mother of invention or innovation. Now it is like it's continuing that way, but still, if you are not innovating, you are not there. Somebody else is out there with a better products addressing the pain of the customer, so you are out of the market, right? At the same time, like if you are innovating, you are bringing in more and more better products to the market. You need, like if we talk about 1995, the cell phone used to be like a big one which you could not put it in your pockets, and because of the innovation today, camera industry is gone. Your computers are kind of gone. People work on this. So innovation, yes, it has a value and people pay for it. Customers pay for that innovation, and you get a lot of returns. And we, as Nextracker, we just like this year, early this year, we had our own IPO, right? And it was one of the biggest IPOs of the year in the renewable sector. And again, why I'm quoting this is returns are there. If you're innovating product, your product is good, your product is taking care of what is required by the industry, you get the returns out of it, right? So that's where I see. What was your second question? Sorry,
Yeah, I think just building on the innovation. So, of course, there is innovation within the product, but there's also making the case for the product itself. I think that's a very interesting thing when it comes to solar trackers because um, it is a choice for whether you want a fixed panel or you want to have a tracker. So,
right.
what element of innovation is really going to get you there to build that market for these products?
Right. So if you see all the geographies across the globe, they are all gone for trackers now, right? So India is also, if you see the last 1 year, I'll say like 2017, 18, there was trackers coming in the market. Then there was like it went down. Then since last year, majority of projects which are going utility-based projects are in with trackers only, and customers are seeing, developers are seeing that benefit via trackers. With these technologies coming up, like module technologies, bifacial. If you're not using tracker, you are not utilizing the advantage of bifacial. So if, just to give you an example, if you are just moving from a fixed structure to a tracker, you increase your energy yields by 20%. Putting on further bifacial, you further increase the yield by another 6 to 7%. Whereas if you go from fixed structure to a tracker, your increase in your project cost may be 7 to 8%, whereas your energy output goes by 25%. So why will you not go for a latest technology, latest product by which you have a control on the product. Fixed is once it is installed, right? You cannot do anything on that project, right? If it is a tracker, you can, you know, adjust your tracker depending on the environmental condition. If there is a cloud above, that's a rainy season, you adjust your trackers to maximize your energy outputs in that kind of environmental condition. Even like we are now using software, we are coming up with a new feature in our product, in a True Capture product, where even if it is a localized cloud, right? As many times you see the clouds are not there. It's not a heavy rainy season, so some part of your project is covered by the cloud. So using, localized weather stations which we have as a part of our product, they sense those, and then only that part of the plant will change the angle, not the rest of the plant. So that's how the intelligence is built into your product. The innovation has to be built into a product to maximize your output, energy output. That's where the Nextracker is, spearheading to the kind of products which we are providing to the customer. So innovation, without innovation, you are nowhere. You have to innovate. No innovation, there's no business. You are not in business.
And just as a quick follow-up, beyond innovation, is there a question of scale when it comes to building these trackers? Of course, I know, like when we talk about like solar cell manufacturing, you need to have large-scale production. So is it possible for, is it innovation which is the major driver of cost or driver of that customer interest, or is manufacturing scale also going to play a major role in in basically creating competitive products?
Yeah, scale of manufacturing, yes, it matters, because at the end of the day, you need the best product at the best cost, right? And if you are having those volume productions, obviously you can reduce your cost drastically, because your fixed cost goes down. So yes, I like in India itself, Nextracker has built up a supply capacity of 10 gigawatts annually, right? As of today, if I talk about Nextracker is supplying almost 700 to 800 megawatts on weekly basis across the globe. Surely, yes, volume of manufacturing, the scale of manufacturing matters a lot to reduce the cost, to provide the right product. And also, when you innovate any new feature, integrate with your product, it becomes easier to come up with the ROIs of those innovation, because you're working on a large scale manufacturing, large scale implementation, large scale O&M side, operation side. It surely helps. Innovation is necessary, whether it is, but I'm not saying that if you're not in a large scale manufacturing, don't do innovation. No, you have to do innovation, and that it's kind of a chicken and egg story. If you're not innovating, you cannot increase your scale, right? So, and if you're a certain level and you're not innovating, you are not, to maintain a leadership position also, the way Nextracker is maintaining for last 7 years, we are number one tracker manufacturer suppliers, right? And the only reason we are doing it is we are innovating the product each and every minute of our operations out there.
Ranjith, I think given the time, this will be our last question. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on innovation, scale when it comes to the steel industry, um, perhaps also innovation when it comes to reducing emissions, and just your closing thoughts, given we can close the session after that.
See, basically, innovation, you have to change with the changing environment and the changing requirements. Today's requirement will not be there tomorrow. So you will have to continuously work on your research and development, your quality parameters. You have to continuously developing new grades, new coatings. That is what we are doing now. And number two, on the emission part, you need to have a cleaner fuel for manufacturing the steel also. So AMNS is also in the path of increasing the usage of clean fuel energy for manufacturing steel. In fact, we are in the process of implementing a solar hybrid solar project also. It is in Andhra Pradesh, which will be commissioned soon. So from that, we'll be using that clean energy for the production lines in our Azira facility. And what I said earlier is also, this one part of it is the product what was we are getting into India now, which is Magnalus. It is a zinc, aluminum, magnesium coated steel, which has been in production for last 12 years, and it is a patented product by ArcelorMittal. And we are getting this product in India by technology transfer. So it's a proven technology, and we are using it for producing it for last 12 years. So we have a confidence, and we know how that product will behave here, and the lot of tests and trials are also going on. So once we have done this, we will be going into the next phase. So we will not be stopping any new designs or new developments or new product portfolios. So we'll be continuously working on it.
Just as a final question, I know that the steel industry uses minerals. Is there a supply challenge for these minerals? Is there a question about access to iron or any of the other alloys or other metals which go into the
See, as
industry?
far as mild steel is concerned, we are not facing any such challenges at this point of time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the lovely panel. As expected, the discussion was very informative, and I've learned a lot about the renewable energy bill and the challenges that we face and how we can fix it and what are the inputs that different angles to the industry have. As a token of appreciation from us for this awe-inspiring discussion that we just witnessed, we would like to present mementos to all the panelists in the discussion. So I would request our moderator, Mr. Dhruv Warrior, to please present these mementos to the panelists on our behalf. Starting with the first panelist, Mr. Rajeev Kashyap, VP and MD, Nextracker, India. A huge round of applause, please. The next memento would be presented to Mr. Ranjith Nambiar, Head Marketing Coated Products, AMNS. Again, a huge round of applause, please. And now to our final panelist, Mr. Manjunath Reddy, MD and founder, DhaSh PV Technologies Private Limited. A generous round of applause for our final panelist. And last but not the least, our lovely moderator, Mr. Dhruv Warrior. We would love to present a memento to you on behalf of Informa Markets. A huge round of applause for our moderator. Once again, thanking our moderator and all the panelists for the wonderful discussion. This concludes our session powered by Council on Energy, Environment and Water. It was lovely having all of you here. Thank you for being an amazing audience. This is your host, Manu Mirdha, signing off for the day. We will see you again tomorrow. Another day, a brighter day, a more lovely day, and more amazing, informative sessions to come. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.